Welcome to the Myth Vault podcast, where we talk about cryptids, urban legends, folklore, creepypasta, and other fun stuff that may or may not exist. I'm your host, Cassie Carnage. Along with my co-host, Weird Musician, we're going to talk about myths and legends from around the world. Today we're going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster, or Nessie. Remember kids, if the Loch Ness Monster asks for $3.50, you give it to him, or her, or it. We're not sure what gender Nessie is, but we don't discriminate here. So, about the Loch Ness Monster. Weird Musician, tell us a little bit about the Loch Ness Monster. What does it look like?
Oh god, like a dinosaur. What's the what Lauren look for? They say it looks like a plesiosaur.
Plesiosaur. Yeah, with the flippers.
An underwater a dinosaur that could swim underwater and all that stuff.
Yeah, with a big long neck and a lizard head with the teeth and everything.
And in the photos, it doesn't. You cannot see the eyes or anything, so we don't know if Nessie has eyes or not. Could be blind.
Could be. Maybe it has a echolocation or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a dolphin or a bat. Or
yeah.
We don't know. The Loch Ness Monster, it gets its name from Loch Ness, which is a lake in the Highlands of Scotland. The first ever written down report of the Loch Ness Monster sighting was back in the 7th century AD, way back in the day. It appears in a book called The Life of St. Columba by Adamnan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If not, I apologize. St. Columba is an Irish monk that became sainted, obviously. He was out on a journey and he encountered some picked tribesmen in Scotland, and they were burying a man by the River Ness. The River Ness leads into Loch Ness, so it's like a river that feeds into a lake. Apparently this poor guy was swimming in the river and he was attacked and mauled by a water beast. It dragged him underwater. They saw this and they got in a boat and they tried to rescue him, but it was no good. He was already dead. So to test this to see if the monster was still there, St. Columba sent one of his followers to swim across the river. Nice guy. He wasn't going to do it himself. And the monster went to attack the guy, and St. Columba made the sign of the cross and said, "Go no further, do not touch the man, go back at once." And the creature stopped and fled. So that's like one of the miracles of St. Columba. Scotland and Ireland have a lot of these kind of myths and legends about their saints and how they can stop evil creatures from doing things with the power of God. So that's one of them. I found that interesting. And then after that, it wasn't until 1871 or 72, reports vary, but D. Mackenzie of Balnain said he saw something that looked like maybe a capsized boat or a log wriggling and churning up the water in the loch, and the creature was moving slowly, and then it disappeared at a faster speed, so it just sped up and went underwater. Pretty crazy, huh?
Weird. And about the Columbo thing? No,
yeah.
So they thought that Nessie was satanic or something? Like, oh, you evil devil monster or whatever.
Yeah, like the dragon myths and the snakes and things like that. They all thought that they were creatures of Satan. So that's why, there's the myth of the saint driving the beast out, because all monsters were evil and, from hell and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, here's something. The word monster was applied for the first time to Nessie on May 2nd of 1933 by Alex Campbell, water bailiff for Loch Ness and apartheid journalist in an Inverness Courier report. Okay, what is this thing? Inverness This is a newspaper.
Yeah, the Inverness Courier report is one of the local Scottish papers. Inverness is the name of a city or town. I don't remember what designation it has because, that's all based on how many people live there, but it's a pretty big place.
It says that on August 4th of 1933, the Courier published a report by Londoner George Spicer that weeks earlier they were driving around the loch. He and his wife saw the nearest approach to a dragon or prehistoric animal that I have ever seen in my life, trundling across the road toward the loch with an animal in its mouth. Letters began appearing in the Courier anonymously, claiming land or water sightings by the writer, their family, or acquaintances or remember stories. The accounts reached the media, which described a monster fish sea serpent or dragon, and eventually settled on Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, that's what they decided to call it. And I think it's a pretty good name for it. It actually, it's one of those names where when you say it, people automatically have something in mind,
Yeah.
George Spicer, he described the Loch Ness Monster as having a very large body that was about 4 feet high and 25 feet long. Wow. With a long, wavy, narrow neck that was slightly thicker than an elephant's trunk. And the neck was as long as the width of the road. So that was they said that the neck was about 10 to 12 feet long. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But they did not describe what its feet looked like or anything like that. Or if it had a tail. So that's something that was added later, I think.
Yeah, because I think the majority of the pigs, you can only see the head or
Right.
part of the, how can I call it? Part of its body, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit like the hump of the back, and then you see that the head snaking up out of the water on a long neck is the iconic picture. In December of 1933, the very first photograph was published by the Daily Express newspaper, and I could not find a picture of this. I'm sure it's online somewhere. I will look to see if I can find it so I can share it with people. This sighting was taken seriously enough that the Secretary of State for Scotland ordered the police to prevent any attacks on the animal. So they're telling them to stop people from attacking the monster if they saw it. Because they thought maybe it was some sort of endangered animal or something that they have not cataloged yet or things of that nature.
Same thing that some people think about Bigfoot, I think.
Yeah, do not engage Bigfoot if you see Bigfoot because it's very strong. It will attack you.
Bigfoot has the death grip, so yeah, don't.
Yeah, I've read reports about Bigfoot being able to rip up whole trees and throw them at people. So that's a story for another episode of the podcast. There's a lot of Bigfoot stories.
And I think there's even shows looking for Bigfoot or something like that.
Yeah. There's there's guys looking for Bigfoot. There's the Sasquatch guys that like to say that there's a squatch in the woods all the time. Their catchphrase or something. Moving on. In 1934, that's a year after the Spicer report of the paper, the infamous, what they call the surgeon's photograph was published, and that's the one that everyone has seen everywhere, where it's kind of fuzzy, it's black and white, and you can see the hump of Nessie's back, and you can see the head snaking up out of the water and looking around. The guy that took the picture didn't want to be identified because apparently he was a London gynecologist and he didn't want his reputation to be tarnished by, sharing pictures of a cryptid because then they think he's crazy or whatever. Reports say that Robert Kenneth Wilson from London is the one that took the picture. He was looking at the loch and he saw the monster, so he grabbed his camera to snap some pictures really quick. And he took 4 of them, but only 2 came out clearly. And the first one shows a small head and back, and the second one shows the head going down to dive into the water. So it's at an angle. The first photo is the one that everybody knows about, and the second one hasn't really gotten a lot of attention because it's so blurry. This picture is highly controversial. Some people say that now, since we have the technology, we can really look at photographs and inspect them for things that might have been cropped or changed and things like that they say that there's a pattern of ripples in the water in the picture, that the waves they don't match up, so it seems like there is something pulling the monster along, like it was on floaties, and the little ripples are coming out from the floaty things. But I have not seen that, so I really don't know. I suppose it's possible that someone could have faked it, but for someone who doesn't even want to be identified for taking a picture, why would he fake it?
Yeah, so pretty much they're saying it could have a boat disguise or something?
Yeah, it could have been a boat, it could have been something that was pulled along by a boat further on, it was on a rope or something, and the rope was under the water. So it was a little raft or something, and someone made just a creature out of a wire mesh paper mache kind of thing or something crazy like that. Because this was in the 1930s, so we didn't have a lot of
technology like No?
Yeah, we didn't have any like silicone. We didn't have anything where like today you can make monster masks and stuff super easy with like, foam rubber and whatnot, but back then they didn't have that. So if it was a hoax, they went through a great deal of trouble to try to make something that looked like a plesiosaur for some reason.
Yeah. And this is another one in 1938. William Fraser, chief constable of the same paper in Inverness-shire, wrote a letter that the monster existed beyond doubt and expressed concern about a hunting party which had arrived with a custom-made harpoon gun, determined to catch the monster dead or alive. He believed his power to protect the monster from the hunters was very doubtful. The letter was released by the National Archives of Scotland on April 27, 2010. Wow, all that time, pretty much that was sitting someplace that no one knew it existed until 2010, pretty much.
Right. Also in 1933, there was a guy riding a motorcycle. His name was Arthur Grant. He said that he was driving towards the northeastern end of the loch near Abraken. Sorry, I probably mangled that. He was driving around there about like 1 a.m. in the morning, but it was a nice moonlit night, and he went around the bend, and he saw a very small head attached to a long neck, and the creature looked at him and crossed the road very quickly back into the loch. He almost hit it, so he stopped to kind of look to see what was going on. Grant was a veterinary student, so he was kind of knowledgeable about animals and things like that, and he said it looked like a cross between a seal and a plesiosaur. So that's probably where the flippers and the plesiosaur thing came from, was from that guy. He got off of his bike and followed it down to the loch, but he only saw ripples in the water, so he couldn't like prove anything other than he saw it. So that's another one of those, hearsay kind of eye-sighting kind of things. After they built a road around the loch in 33, which is probably the one that the guy was driving on, sightings of the monster has significantly increased. So a bunch of workers and then tourists started coming in after that. And I think that's why, like the constable you mentioned, like Fraser and some of the other people that were in charge were really worried about people going and trying to kill this beast because, all the tourists come and, you get so many people in one area. You have a wild animal that's very big. Anything could go wrong. People could have gotten killed if they tried to rush it, and you don't know the behavior of the animal and things like that. So I didn't actually know about this aspect of the Nessie legends, about people trying to protect it and protect people from trying to go after it. So that's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, because maybe one of these days, what if it was proven that it's real, and all these people trying to hunt it and all that stuff, it turns out to be something that may have been a survivor from the, I guess, dinosaur era, you could say.
Yep. Yeah, it's just like, like the coelacanth. We always thought that the coelacanth was an extinct fish. And I'm probably quoting this wrong, but I know it was like in the early 1900s, we actually found it in the ocean over by South Africa. And then, it's not extinct at all. Here it is right there. There's the armored fish. It hasn't changed at all in aeons. So it is highly possible that there is some sort of prehistoric animal living over in the loch that is elusive enough, even though it's huge. Since the lake is really murky, it's very muddy. The water is not clear, just because that's the way the water is in the area. It's not polluted or anything. It's just the natural sediments and stuff always get churned up. So it's very hard to go down there and do scuba diving missions and things to try to find where maybe it's living in a cave or whatever. And since the river is connected to the lake, it's highly possible that the animal actually goes into the river too and doesn't even actually live in the lake. It could be living somewhere else. So there's that too. So
yeah, you mentioned the first photograph, and it's called Surgeon's photograph. Is here.
Yep.
So the creature's head and neck, taken by Robert Kenneth Wilson, like you mentioned. Apparently, he was a
gynecologist.
Gynecologist.
Yeah.
Apparently, he didn't want his name associated with it.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was saying. That he didn't want anyone to know that he was the one that took the pictures. He tried to submit them anonymously, but I guess they tracked the mail and stuff back to him eventually. But yeah, it's like if I had taken a picture of of something that people were really looking for, that was proof that, hey, this is real. It's like, why would I go out of my way to tell them not to identify me in the paper unless, like I said, like he was worried about his reputation getting tarnished and losing business. Why would you fake that, right? I mean, because most of like other things that can be faked, say like crop circles or even UFO sightings and stuff, people that fake that stuff go out of their way to make sure that their name is mentioned. They really want to be known as the person that was abducted from whatever place, or they're the ones that had contact with the aliens or whatever. It's a very interesting thing there. Like, why wouldn't you want to be identified as the guy that found it,
And apparently, some people thought the photo was driftwood, an elephant, an otter, or a bird, but not a monster.
Yeah, a bird. I like the bird one. It's like, what kind of bird looks like that? I think I read that some photo analysis of that famous picture said that by comparing the things in the background and so on and so forth, that the monster in the photo was only like 4 feet long. But I'm not sure how they could have really compared, because there wasn't a lot in the background. It was just water and the creature. There wasn't the mountains or the roadside or anything in the photograph to compare it to.
My guess is because they're skeptics, they wanted to see things that were not there, I guess.
Possible. A little bit of healthy skepticism is fine. We should question things all the time and come to our own conclusions that, educated guesses or by deducing information. In this case, it's really hard to say if it was faked or not. It's just like that short video reel of the Bigfoot creature from the 70s that the guy took out, and he's walking across the woods. And I've seen countless TV shows and stuff where they overanalyze how the creature's moving and things like that. And I can't say for certain if they're right or if that actually was Bigfoot, because it's so... It could go either way. Could somebody fake how a hominid ape walked, like the gait and, the hip structure and all that kind of stuff? Maybe. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, here this is. If we can find the person that's still alive to see if we can talk to them, see if their body language is indicating if they're not telling the truth, or if they are, that's one thing. But like with this picture from 1933, that guy is long gone. There's no way for us to sit down and talk with him and be like, tell us about the day. Tell us what you remember. Tell us the sights and sounds and smells and all that kind of stuff. So it's up there. And I'm not so skeptical to think that something like that isn't real, because there's so many things in this world that we have yet to find. I mean, take for example like the giant squid, right? This giant squid, we always saw pictures from way back in the day, like 1800s and further back than that, where there's pictures on maps and things where people drew these huge squid attacking boats and attacking whales, and we always thought that was just, it's just a monster story. No, sorry guys, the giant squid is real. We finally found it. And it took us several centuries to find it, but we did. And so if a giant creature like that takes us that long to find and verify, it's highly possible that Nessie is another thing exactly like that.
I remember giant squids because of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Mm-hmm.
There's a giant squid that attacks the Nautilus, I think is the name?
The Nautilus, yeah.
Yeah. So apparently there's a book called Nessie, the Surgeon's Photograph Exposed, that shows the details of how the photo was taken. According to a person called, says that the creature was a toy submarine built by Christian Sporling, the son-in-law of Marmaduke Wetherell. Wetherell had been ridiculed by his employer, the Daily Mail, after he found Nessie footprints, which turned out to be a hoax. So, to get revenge on the Mail, Wetherell perpetrated the hoax with co-conspirator Sperling, a sculpture specialist, Ian Wetherell, his son, who bought the material, and Maurice Chambers, an insurance agent. The toy submarine was bought from F. Woolworths, apparently, and his head and neck were made from wood body After testing it in a local pond, the group went to Loch Ness, where Ian took the photos near the Alsake tea house. And when they heard a water bailiff approaching, Doug Wetherell sank the model with his foot and is presumably still somewhere in Loch Ness. Chambers gave the photographic plaques to Wilson, a friend of his who enjoyed a good practical joke. Wilson brought the plaques to Oxtones, an Inverness chemist, and gave them to George Morrison for development. He sold the first photo to Daily Mail. Okay, it's the Daily Mail, who announced that the monster had been photographed. I don't know how true that could be, to be honest.
So they bought a submarine from where?
A toy submarine with a piece of wood. That's pretty much what they're saying.
A toy submarine. But they don't give the dimensions of the submarine, or the brand of the submarine, or pictures of the submarine. I mean, I know that there were toy submarines, but the toy submarines that I know of from that time period were very small. Like, you could put them in your bathtub. So if it was a submarine, if it was big enough for maybe one person, I guess it's possible. But that seems kind of like a lot of work to try to get revenge on somebody.
Yeah, and apparently the hoax story that I mentioned before was disputed by Henry Bauer, who claims that the debunking is evidence of bias and asks why the perpetrators did not reveal their plot earlier to embarrass the newspaper. According to Alistair Boyd, a researcher who uncovered the hoax, the Loch Ness Monster is real. The surgeon's photo hoax does not mean that other photos, eyewitness reports, and footage of the creature are also, and he claims to have seen it. Pretty much.
Yeah. So you have all these people, including law enforcement, saying that this creature is real and that they've seen it. Most of these people are pretty credible. They have nothing to gain, really, from saying that it is real or isn't real. They just live in the area or they visited, and they're pretty passionate about the wildlife. For someone to get revenge over being made fun of for finding fake footprints, buying a submarine, building part of the creature out of wood, which would take time and effort because you would have to shape the wood for the neck for it to bend right and things like that. So he would have to know somebody who was a carpenter or a woodworker or have that kind of personal knowledge, which it doesn't seem like he does because he worked for a newspaper. He was a journalist. It's like, okay, did he come from a family of carpenters? Did he know people that did woodwork? How did they cover the creature so there was no seams showing? Because the guy that took the picture, the surgeon's photograph, he wasn't too far away. They didn't have the high zoom lenses like we have today back then. So how close he had to have been to have seen it, there had to have been, like, if there were seams, he would have seen them. He would have known. You probably would have heard the submarine moving in the water. Those things, are anything of any significant size you can hear and see in the water. And there would have been a shadow underneath the monster head and stuff that didn't quite match up with the body parts of the creature in the lake. So I don't know. It's an interesting story, but I'm missing information. Like that one guy said, there seems to be a bias there. Like, we're missing some facts on that one.
Yeah, apparently wood body is also called plastic wood. It is a substance that's used to fill imperfections such as nail holes, wood prior to finishing.
Oh, so it's like a wood glue. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a little bit more sense.
Says that the main problem of using body is matching the color of the body to that of the wood.
Huh. Okay, so then there wouldn't be a lot of seams either. Okay.
And the person I mentioned before, Harry Bauer, he was a chemistry professor.
Okay, so he would have had knowledge of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that fits. Huh.
Oh. Apparently another sighting was by a tourist from South Africa.
Okay.
He filmed something in the loch for 3 minutes on 60mm color film, obviously before digital analog stuff. So the film was obtained by popular science writer Maurice Burton, who didn't show it to author Peter Costello and the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau. Okay, I didn't know that existed, but okay. A single frame was published in his 1961 book, The Elusive Monster.
So this writer guy got a hold of this footage made by a South African tourist of the monster, and he didn't share it with anybody.
No.
Just put a single frame of the film in his book. See, that's another thing, was just like, why would you do that? You know, especially with the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau, which was formed specifically to prove or disprove that the creature existed. Weird. That is very weird.
Okay, I forgot to mention the name of the South African tourist was G.E. Taylor.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that, yeah. So it was 3 minutes of footage on 16mm color film. 3 minutes of the monsters swimming around in the water, allegedly. And it was bought by a science fiction writer, Maurice Burton, who did not share it with anybody. Weird. It's like it's things like this that just, it makes you wonder what they were thinking. You know, why would you not want to share that with people? Why would you not sell that footage for a ton of money? Was he trying to protect the animal? Was he selfishly guarding information because he wanted to feel important? We don't know.
No, it's not mentioned. No.
I guess that requires some more research.
Yeah.
There was another film made in 1960. There was an aeronautical engineer, Tim Dinsdale. He filmed a hump that left a wake in the water crossing Loch Ness. He saw it on his last day of his search, and he said that the hump was kind of reddish with a blotch on the side. Not sure what color the blotch is, it doesn't say. He put his camera up on the tripod as it began to move, and he shot like 40 feet of film. And others say that it cannot be ruled out as being a boat or something like that. They say when they increase the contrast on the film, you can see a man in a boat. Like he was just filming a boat. So
you're talking about the Tim Dinsdale who apparently filmed Nessie too.
Yeah.
But how could it be a boat? How could people say that it was a boat?
I don't know. You know, it's like there's people that just don't want to be open-minded enough, you know, to think that it could be anything other than man-made. In 93, the Discovery Communications made a documentary called Loch Ness Discovered, and it had a digital enhancement of the Dinsdale film. And the guy that enhanced the film said that there was a shadow in the negative that was not obvious in the developed film. And he enhanced it and overlaid all the frames with the shadow and stuff, and he found what looked like the rear body of the creature under the water as it was swimming from the shadows and stuff. And the guy's quoted as saying, before he saw the film, he thought that the Loch Ness Monster was just a load of rubbish, but after he did the enhancement, he's not so sure. I don't have a name for this guy, but it's in the documentary, Loch Ness Discovered. And he did digital enhancement, and he found that, you know, there's a whole monster there. There's a whole creature there. It's not just a guy in a boat.
So apparently from June 27 to July 23rd of 1960 was the first major planned expedition of its kind to visit the Loch. Was conducted by Oxford and Cambridge, and it was called the University's Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose was to make a general study of Loch Ness, paying particular attention to the possible existence of the Loch Ness Monster. Participants in the expedition were 30 volunteer graduates and undergraduates who used cameras and an echo sounder mounted on a boat.
Yeah, so these university graduates went with the expedition to find evidence of the Loch Ness Monster, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was on from June to July of 1960.
Okay, and they found some. Did they take pictures or did they take film?
It says one visual sighting and echo soundings that were of unusual character, but doesn't mention anything about photo.
Interesting.
Yeah. And another one was a person who wanted to remain anonymous. The witness was driving southwesterly along the main road towards Briacam Pier. When he noticed a small jack traveling up the loch, he realized that there were two bee wakes parallel to one another. The closest of the two wakes came from the jack, and the second appeared to be caused by something under the water.
Okay, so they were V-shaped wakes in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was like something was swimming through the lake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Says that the object surfaced and looked just like a midget submarine.
A midget submarine?
Yeah. Yeah.
For some reason, I picture it like a clown car with a whole bunch of midgets and one little submarine. And when they go to get out, they all like pop out all at once, and there's like hundreds of them. Oh boy.
Apparently, the color was greenish black, about the size of the jack, which was in fact 48 feet by 10 feet.
So it was greenish black.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see here. There's some more recent sightings that have been reported. In 2007, there's a 55-year-old lab technician, Gordon Holmes, videotaped what he saw was a jet black thing about 46 feet long moving fairly fast in the water. That's a quote. And Adrian Shine, who's a marine biologist at the Loch Ness 2000 Center in Drumnadrochit, which I probably mangled too. He described the footage as being the best footage that he had ever seen. BBC Scotland broadcast the video on May 29, 2007, and the STV News North Tonight aired it on May 28th. And they interviewed Holmes and, talked about the footage and stuff. So I'm sure it's online somewhere for people to find. That was the Gordon Holmes video in 2007. The marine biologist was interviewed too, and he said that it could have been an otter or a seal or, again, a water bird. A 46-foot long water bird. That must have been one hell of an egret in the water.
Or maybe Gandalf calling eagles. Eagles, come to me.
It's eagles, or is a very big salmon. I mean, like, some people theorize that water monsters in particular could be like sturgeon or, other very large fish. But I don't know how big sturgeon get, but I know they get rather impressive. But I don't think they get up to 46 feet in length. That's more like an oarfish that requires like 16 people to hold up for a picture. So, yeah, that's bizarre.
Okay, I'm looking at photos of giant sturgeons. Let's see if I can open. Okay, let's see if I can hear. Okay, sharing it. Pictures of giant sturgeons.
I can't pull it up. Oh, here we go. I had the wrong thing up. Yeah, because a sturgeon is a very interesting kind of fish. It has armored scales on the top that create V-shapes along the spine, and there are like reticulated, so there's a whole bunch of them that go down the spine. The front part of the fish is like spade shape, which kind of looks maybe like a dinosaur from a certain angle, but it does not have the hump. It is a straight fish, like most fish. If I were to describe it as anything, I would say it looked maybe like a baby shark with the placement of the fins and things like that. The dorsal fin is way, way back, very close to the back fins of the fish, unlike a shark, which has it like right up in the middle, and it's very iconic. But, yeah, sturgeon can get pretty impressive size. Let's see, there's a picture here, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a picture here of 10 guys holding one, which to give you kind of a mental picture of how long they can get. Let's see what... The European sturgeon apparently is called a beluga, but not a whale. It's not a whale. The biggest one, it can get up to 2,500 pounds. That's impressive. A little over 12 feet. Let's see here. The biggest one was captured in the Volga estuary. That's the Volga River in Russia. And it was 24 feet long. So that kind of sort of matches the size of some of the reports of Nessie, but it doesn't have a long neck. It is not a long-necked fish. It is not a long-necked turtle or anything that would be able to lift its head up out of the water like a, in the Q shape, kind of like the flamingo kind of shape if you want to get a mental picture. This thing is a very compact fish, but it is the largest freshwater fish in the world. So there's that. Another theory is that there are freshwater eels.
I actually share some photos of freshwater eels are big, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, how large do eels get? About 12 feet.
Okay.
But they don't normally get that big, apparently. They grow very slowly. The freshwater eels grow very slowly.
Oh.
But the biggest ones apparently are in saltwater. Typically, like, more eels get to be about 4 to 5 feet long. So, and the conger eels, I don't know if those are fresh or saltwater. I'd have to look that up. Let's see. I don't know that much about eels. Okay, they're marine, so they're saltwater, and they can get up to 10 feet long. But that still doesn't match the length description of
Of Nessie.
Of Nessie, yeah. Let's see, there was a sonar image taken August 24th in 2011. A boat captain, Marcus Atkinson, photographed a sonar image of a 4'11" unidentified object in the water, which was following his boat for 2 minutes at a depth of 75 feet. And he ruled out the possibility of it being a small shoal or school of fish or a seal. However, a scientist from the National Oceanography Center in 2012 discounted it and said it was just an image of algae bloom or plankton.
Oh boy.
Why would it follow his boat? It would be washed away in the wake of the boat. And that was kind of a really far down. Unless his boat was really, really big, I don't see how it could pull algae along with it just for 2 minutes and then have it disappear.
Yeah, or it was the creature of the Black Lagoon. This guy's kidding.
or Swamp Thing, or that must have been another marine bird. It's 75 feet down in the water.
Okay, apparently Google did something to commemorate the 81st anniversary of the surgeon's photograph with a Google Doodle and added a new feature to the Google Street View. With this one, users can explore the loch above and below the water. Google spent a week at Loch Ness collecting imagery with a Street View tracker camera. They attached it to a boat to photograph above the surface and collaborated with members of the Kathleen Sea View survey to photograph underwater. This was last year, pretty much 2015. Google doing that, okay.
So they took pictures of Loch Ness and then they put Nessie in there? Or did they just do a whole series of photos for people to look at the lake on the street maps on Google?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cute. I'm guessing they didn't find any large waterfowl while they were doing that.
Let's see if I can find the Google Doodle. Oh, Doodle. I found it! I found the Google Doodle. And okay, look, that's the Google Doodle. I just share it.
Okay, the Google Doodle is a small submarine that has 3 aliens with antennae on it. They only have a single eye, so they're like cyclopses, with big round heads and comically small bodies with noodle arms with just 2 fingers on their hands and little feet. And they are in the submarine that they're driving by, pedaling it like a bike. And at the top of the submarine is the Loch Ness Monster shape. So the top of the submarine is like that one guy said. So they made a doodle of what the hoaxer said he made for Loch Ness, where they drove the submarine and had the Loch Ness Monster shape attached to the top for a picture.
Uh-huh.
That's cute. Oh, it's a black and white picture too, by the way. I didn't say that. So.
And Apple did something too, but this was in 2014. So on April 19 of 2014, it was reported that a satellite image on Apple Maps showed what appeared to be a large creature, thought by some to be the Loch Ness Monster, below the surface of Loch Ness. At the loch's far north, the image appeared about 30 meters, 98 feet long. Possible explanations were the wake of a boat, with the boat itself lost in image, stitching it, seal caused ripples, or floating wood. Okay, so pretty much, no, that wasn't a monster, that was a boat, or a seal, or a wood.
Or a bird. The bird thing, I can't get over the bird thing, it just cracks me up so much.
I remember there's a game I played that has a giant bird called Gauratan. So it might have been Gauratan.
Oh, let's see here. There's another photograph by George Edwards in 2011. Wait, no, sorry. August 3rd, 2012. George Edwards published what he thought was a really convincing Nessie photograph, which he took in November 2011. The photograph has a hump in the water, which he said just sat there for about 5 to 10 minutes. Just the hump, not the head. He just saw the hump, which is bizarre. Let's see, he spends about 60 hours a week on the loch on his boat, the Nessie Hunter 4, which he takes tourists on for rides, and he has been looking for the monster for 26 years. Okay. He thinks that the monster looks kind of like a manatee, but not a mammal. So when people see 3 humps, they're just seeing 3 separate monsters? or animals?
I just shared the photo. I found it.
Oh, I see that. The guy is standing next to it. Looks like it's a fiberglass hump that someone made for some pictures. It's not very big, actually. As there's a picture of a fisherman standing with it, and he looks kind of not amused. So, and it looks like something that would have been made for Jurassic Park or something like that, because there's the color patterns. There's like a black, not like a black, but like a darker brown stripe on the spine of the hump, and it's lighter on the sides with some wrinkles and things. So I guess that was a hoax. But see, it was suggested by a researcher, Steve Feldham, that it was just a fiberglass hump that was used in a National Geographic Channel documentary, which the guy had participated in. Okay, so we have these things where people are faking stuff either to demonstrate, like for documentaries, like, oh, here is a reenactment of what someone saw, and then you have people that are doing it supposedly to get revenge, and then you have people that swear on the lives of themselves and their mothers that they saw it and it was real. So it's, there's those two camps where it's just like, is this fake or is this real? We don't know. But that guy, he said who he was. He mentioned his boat. He mentioned that he takes people for rides on the lake for his business. So he just wanted attention, as opposed to the surgeon's photograph guy who didn't want any attention. He didn't want to be connected to it at all. Weird.
Oh, I guess you're saying that Edwards admitted in October 2014 that his 2011 photograph was a hoax.
Yeah. So you have these hoaxers that are making it difficult for people to prove that they're telling the truth or that pictures that they have are real. So, it's like the boy that cried wolf. You say it so many times, no one's going to believe it after a while. And then you have these scientists who, without really going into any detail, write it off and say, oh, it's an algal bloom, or it's a seal, or it's a manatee, or whatever. It's a big bird. Okay, so if it's that kind of animal, could you tell us a little bit more about the behavior we're seeing in the picture of that animal? What are they doing? And I have not come across anything like that. Maybe it's in some documentaries that I can't find written stuff up online. Maybe I have to watch more. I don't know. It's weird.
I just found the David Elder video.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to mention what it is before I share it. So, on August 27 of 2014, tourist David Elder presented a 5-minute video of a mysterious wave in the loch. According to Elder, the wave was produced by a 4.5 meter, 15 feet solid black object just under the surface of the water. Elder 50 from East Kilbridge, South Lanarkshire, was taking a picture of a swan at the Fort Augustus Pier on the southwestern end of the loch. When he captured the movement, he said the water was very still at the time. There were no ripples coming up the wave, no other activity on the water. Skeptics suggested that the wave may have been caused by a wind gust.
A wind. That's by the wind. Even though he said there was no wind and the water was still.
Yep. Okay, so I guess I'm sharing this just a short clip, but it's from the video he apparently recorded.
Okay.
Something there.
Okay.
Here we are at Fort Augustus. Something moving in the water on Loch Ness. No idea what it is.
Huh.
It's like a ripple. It's like something under the water.
It's huge.
It's gone, like.
No, it's not.
No, it's still there.
It's still there. Really?
It's as if it's moved quite a bit up.
Wow.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a dark shape that's moving around in the water. In the foreground, we can see what looks like the underwater current, like what we call the undertow, moving. You can see the biggest current in the lake system moving around. Wow, that's very compelling. That's really interesting. So yeah, there's a big shadow in the water and it's moving around. And there's no head, there's no nothing. So it's not like someone just faked it. And there wasn't a lot of movement on the top of the water. It was just directly underneath it. But it was big enough where he could capture a shadow of it from the surface.
Maybe the skeptics may have seen the happening before looking at the video. Oh my god! No, the wind is attacking the water. Nah.
No, you could see where the waves were. You could see the current of the water, and then in the further back is where the shadow is of something under the water moving around, like a very big fish or perhaps a waterfowl.
So I just found the Apple Maps photograph and sharing it. Oops. Yeah.
Okay, the Apple Maps photograph actually looks like a sturgeon. It's like an over-the-head aerial view of a sturgeon fish. Of the spade-shaped head, you can see the two front side fins. I forget what they're called, forgive me. It has the actual, fish shape, the classic fish shape, so you guys would know just by seeing it that is a fish. Yeah, that does not look like it would have been a plesiosaur or anything like that. That's most likely a sturgeon. Sorry, guys. That is not Nazi.
Did you already talk about the Holmes video? Because I just found
it. We will share that, the link to that. I'm trying to see if I can find where... I'm just loading up the video for where it's at. Okay, and then the Holmes video, it looks significantly like the video we just watched with the shadow under the water and not a lot of movement in the water. So that's interesting. But the other one, the Holmes video, didn't they say that was a hoax? Or was that Edward? Oh wait, no, that was not a hoax, I'm sorry.
Edwards was the hoax.
Yeah, so Holmes was not the hoax one. That was in 2007. And looking at the similarities between the two footage, that looks like the same animal to me, like with the shadow under the water, the shape, how it's moving. So those match up pretty good. That's pretty cool.
So apparently we forgot to mention one called Loch Ness Monster. This was in 1977. Says on May 21 of 1977, Anthony Doc Shields, camping next to Urquhart Castle, took some of the clearest pictures of the monster until this day. Shields, a magician and psychic. Oh my god, a magician and psychic. Okay. Claimed to have summoned the animal out of the water.
Oh.
He later described it as an elephant squid, claiming the Loch Ness shown in the photograph is actually the squid's trunk, and that white spot at the base of the neck is its eye. Due to the lack of ripples, it has been declared a hoax by a number of people and received its name because of its stage look. Okay, I'm going to look for it and see if I can find it. Oh, whoops. It's Loch Ness Muppet,
Muppet, like the Jim Henson Muppets, that kind of Muppet. Like they're saying it's just a big puppet or something.
Loch Ness Muppet. I think I found it. Okay. Oh my god. Seriously? Okay, so sharing the Loch Ness Muppet. No, well, a magician and psychic, so that one could be a hoax. Yeah.
That does not look like a squid, but that does not have the arcing top head shape, not like the curlicue top of like a question mark, like the original surgeon's photograph. The neck on that thing is very stiff. It really looks like someone just put it on a pole so they could hold it up under the water and move it around. It's not articulated at all. The mouth is open. It kind of looks like a baby Godzilla head. So there's no similarity between that and any other photograph that people have made. So yeah, that is clearly something that is faked. It does not have any sort of natural shape to it. It does not look like an animal at all. So there's that.
Found the Dinsdale film. Sharing it.
Okay, the Dinsdale film, you can see awake in the water. There's something up on top, and then there's a big shape underneath it. And this thing is moving like it's a snake almost under the water, like going back and forth in like a U shape. Like it has an articulated spine. I mean, that is a real animal motion. That is not a submarine doing that. Unless they were very, very clever and studied animals for a while and figured out how to make an articulating thing under the water to make it look like it was really an animal swimming. So those three videos match up, and they're done by three different guys in three different, times and stuff.
Okay, so before we stop, want to mention this is Some explanations of the photos. Berwick's,
Yes.
eels,
Eels.
elephant, Greenland shark,
A
what?
Greenland shark.
A catfish,
Giant catfish.
animals, doesn't say which ones.
Manatee. Some guys thought it was a manatee.
Misidentification of inanimate objects like trees,
A boat.
optical effects, wind conditions, really. It says wind conditions can give a choppy mate appearance to the water. So apparently wind can make water form the...
I grew up next to Lake Superior, which is a giant freshwater sea, basically. I mean, it's huge. You can't see the land on the other side of the lake. And I know what the chopping water cross-hatching looks like. I'm very familiar with waves and big bodies of water, and I can tell you that shadow in those 3 separate videos is not something made by the waves at all. If anything, it could be a log underwater or a very big fish, if it's not a monster or a plesiosaur or whatever. But yeah, that's not an optical illusion caused by waves. It doesn't move right for that at all, and it's not something that waves would do, to my personal knowledge.
Or this last one, seismic gas. Okay.
Oh, all right. It's a weather balloon.
So apparently, according to geologists, that because some earliest sightings of the creature were accompanied by loud roars, and because the Loch Ness is along the Great Glen Fault, this could be the description of an earthquake.
An earthquake that makes shadows underwater and attacks people and roars at them. Okay. I suppose it's possible that if they just heard sounds and didn't see anything, and there was a bit of shaking in the land, that it could cause that. It might cause some strange wave activity as well, but it wouldn't explain shadows swimming underwater or anything like that. So...
No. I was going to mention something. So, many reports conceived only of a large disturbance on the surface of the water could be release of gas through the fault, meaning gas making a shape? I don't know.
I don't know. It seems pretty bizarre that gas would move in the water like a big fish or aquatic animal swimming. Because it would just move with the current, and we could see the current in the water. It's just like saying it's swamp gas, right?
Oh yeah, swamp gas.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast. I am Cassie Carnage, and with my host, Weird Musician.
Here, yeah.
Yes. Have a very good night, and be careful, because next time you go swimming, you might actually run into a giant waterfowl or swamp gas and think you've seen a water monster. So good night, and thank you.